Well, we're into November now, which means for those of us in the Pacific Northwest, unfortunately, the majority of riding is done for the year. We've surpassed that point in the fall shoulder season where the days are definitely more rainy and cold than they are not. So the majority of the time, the bike is living in the garage right now. And with that being the case, I figured now would be as good a time as any to just sit down and chat a little bit about how I feel like my first season with this bike went. You know, I think I need a better angle though. Wait, are the forks locked? Damn it. The bike just does look so much better from the exhaust side, so I'm gonna flip her around. The things we do for filming. You know, on second thought, it actually has already been a few weeks since I've ridden, so I guess I might as well start it up too. Everything will sound better now. So for those of you who haven't seen anything from me prior, I'll give a quick 30-second backstory. This is my 2023 Harley Davidson Lowrider S, and not only was it my first Harley, it's actually my first road motorcycle as well. I've covered a little bit of this before, but again, for context, I grew up racing dirt bikes, I've ridden mountain bikes and BMX for most of my life actually, so the two-wheel thing is not necessarily new to me by any means. It was just transitioning to the street was something that I wanted to take on this summer. And why not start with a Harley? So again, picking up a brand new bike about 5 months ago, I did a lot this summer and I'm really stoked on how everything came about. Probably did, I don't know, half a dozen or so upgrades, which really transitioned, or transformed, I should say, the look of the bike. But before I dive into sort of the mods and my thought process behind how that went and what my plans were, I want to just really touch on the bike itself for a second. As somebody who has a background in dirt bikes, I would say the Lowrider S was very approachable for me to jump into. The power is definitely capable, but the bike itself was really, I don't know, like I said, I come back to the word approachable because everybody had been telling me, oh, the 117 is a big engine, and it is. But the characteristics of the bike felt very nimble, it was very maneuverable, even for somebody, again, who hasn't ridden road motorcycles really all that much at all and was very intimidated by the weight and especially doing like low speed maneuvers and drills. I found that to be something that I was able to ease myself into pretty easily, and honestly couldn't have been more stoked to just jump in and have an awesome summer with, you know, little to no background in road motorcycles. So that does kind of spark the question, is the Lowrider S a good beginner bike? I know I definitely had that question when I was researching what to buy, and I've even received that question a couple of times already. It's definitely something I think I want to dedicate, you know, as its own subject, but I've owned this bike for about 5 months. I think I have just over 2,500 miles on it in the first summer of riding. I will at least say for now, as far as was the Lowrider S a good beginner bike, at least for me it was. I really wanted to get the bike set up for comfort as well as just, you know, kind of style it aesthetically to my liking, and I pretty much did all of the mods that I have on it now within the first 2 months of ownership maybe. And it's not to say that anything was very technically challenging as far as mechanics skills go, but I think I filmed pretty much every part of the build throughout this summer. So if you're interested in seeing more of those in any detail, everything was pretty well documented. But in the first 2 to 3 months, I did the Road Rider LED lights, Vance & Hines 2-in-1 exhaust, the Memphis shades, Road Warrior fairing, Saddleman seat. What else did I do? Biltwell Punisher pegs, and Edward Ritchie sissy bar. I was really happy with how it all turned out. And in that same spirit of being ambitious, I wanted to get as much of those upgrades done as soon as possible because I really wanted to be able to get out there and just ride a bunch this summer, which I feel like I did because I commuted a lot pretty much every day in the summer when it was, you know, dry and sunny, which we do get pretty good summers in the Pacific Northwest. But at the same time, I ran into some snags just as far as, you know, unforeseen problems or waiting on parts. And then along with that, I bought the bike in early May, and I hadn't even thought about buying a motorcycle until sometime in April, I think, or maybe late March. So I definitely had a lot of summer plans already, and my weekends were spoken for. I was training for a 50K trail race, so I was trying to spend a lot of my weekends running and just staying in shape for that, as well as just kind of planning out the different rides. Here in Washington, we have amazing mountains and oceans and tons of scenic routes that I've driven a lot in the car, but wanted to get out on the bike and just explore in an entirely different capacity. So I was trying to plan a bunch of those, get the bike built up, and just scheduling and weather. And I have a fair amount of friends that ride, so trying to rope them into doing these rides with me. It's just kind of a lot to coordinate, especially somewhat last minute. So unfortunately, I just didn't get to do as many of those as I wanted to. It just didn't really pan out that way. Even at the end of the summer, when I still had a handful of weekends left, when the bike was built up, I had some routes and trips scheduled, and then I ended up getting sick like 3 weekends in a row. Then I had my trail race. So X, Y, and Z reasons compounded, and I didn't really get to go out and do as much. That's why I've been hyping up so much of building the bike for comfort, to go do longer rides, and it just didn't come to fruition this summer, basically. But at the end of the day, I'm still really happy with how everything's turned out. Like I said, just with the bike build and then my own personal comfort. I feel very capable of going really anywhere I want on my bike now. There's definitely some places I would avoid if I could, like I don't want to ride into Seattle and shit like that. I'm kind of more of a rural guy, but kind of just going to play the waiting game until next summer now, especially because so many of those are in the mountains and it's going to be snowed out already and just, colder than a witch's tit. But even on the cold, clear days around here, I have some rides that I'm probably going to get out and try to document still. I have a background in photography and filmmaking, so a lot of the creative media side of things wasn't necessarily new to me, except in this application. I've never really been that much of a GoPro person, so I got a GoPro set up, figured out how to, mount a mic onto the bike to get better engine audio. I feel like I kind of got my feet wet with all that this summer, so if anything, it's just gonna set me up for better success next year. I think this year definitely was more bike work and modification, but next year is gonna be much more riding oriented. I definitely do still have upgrades I want to do to the bike. Probably smaller things still going forward, like a brake pedal, a shifter, maybe some levers and stuff like that. I think most of the heavy lifting mods are behind me for now, risers, and then I think doing a cam would be really fun, more so just for kind of the mechanic process rather than just the power upgrade. I don't think that'll be anytime soon by any means, but I definitely have other things I want to do throughout this winter. I did want to say I'm really stoked on the engagement that I've gotten so far on the channel. Frankly, I feel like a lot of the Harley community gets a bad rap for, it's just full of trolls and type A personalities, but that hasn't been my experience whatsoever so far. Maybe outside of a comment or two, everybody has been so encouraging and I really appreciate it, and I'm excited to just keep this going. So all in all, the first summer, the first 2,500 miles, the first really everything with the Lowrider S has been awesome. It's been everything and more that I would have wanted it to be when I bought the bike, and I'm really sad that I have to kind of put it away for the winter, but I'm going to be trying to get out there still as much as I can. I hope you're able to do the same. I hope you ride safe, and I'll see you out there. Oh man, I have to pack up all this gear. Might need another one of these. But then I get to go grill a steak.